Hey guys, how are you doing today? It's Deb Acker. I want to talk to you. I'm really excited. So I want to talk to you guys about why I don't really believe in goal setting and the mantra that came to me yesterday that I'm really going to be following and flowing through. First of all, Happy New Year. I hope you all had an amazing New Year. For those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Deb Acker, and I'm an energy healer. I clear childhood patterns, pain, trauma, all kinds of those things. As well as now I'm starting to move into intuitive sales. So I'm doing a sales program to help you achieve the results that I've achieved now twice in the last 3 years, which is awesome. I quadrupled my sales twice in the last 3 years, once in corporate, once as an entrepreneur. Looking forward to doing that or more or greater this coming year. But I'm going to be teaching the tools and the processes that I used to really do that and really accelerate my business and accelerate my business within the corporate world quickly. So first of all, I want to mention with regards to this topic, if you are a goal setter and if that works for you, awesome, cool, that's so great. Like I'm all about it. If goals feel good to you and you actually follow through on your goals and you're like, yeah, goals, cool. For those of you guys who are like me and are like, ooh, goals, this video's for you. So first of all, one of my senses about goals, right? I feel like there's so many processes out there that really teach and like talk about, like this is what I did to become a successful human being. And my personal feeling on it, and I'm all about, helping people to step out of that illusionary world and kind of give you guys a fresh perspective. So you're really like, oh, never thought about it that way. So goals to me personally, like I said, are the ways that we got trained. This is how I'm a successful human being. Okay. And so again, like if goals work for you, awesome. I'm talking to people who like me, who are in energy and are like goals. And I want you to, so let's start here. What I want you to do is feel into your body regarding goals, right? So just feel into your body, like, okay, when I feel a goal, just feel how that feels in your body. You may need to close your eyes to do this, but just really feeling like, how does that feel in my body? And for me, when I feel a goal in my body, it feels contracting. It also feels kind of like I'm getting boxed in. And so for me and the guidance and how I've been able to create so much success in my world and my reality is because I follow the flow of energy, right? I follow things that feel fun, that feel open, that feel expansive, that feel juicy. And so goals to me, when I feel them in my body, they contract, right? It contracts it. So that's one place for us to start. Another piece of it really, so in addition to the whole idea of around like this is how we impersonate successful human beings, in addition to that, really thinking about goals in terms of so your body contracts when you think about it, right? So instead of that, and this is the process that I use, which I love, right? Anytime when something is open within our body, so when it feels open, when it feels juicy, when it feels fun, when it feels in the flow, that's when you're on the right path, right? And so for me, what this looks like, so say for instance, let's use the example of workshops. Many of you guys know I've been teaching workshops around the country. It's been so fun. There's more coming this year, so definitely keep an eye out, and you can go ahead to my website too to check that out. But so the way that first of all, I want to walk you through my process with this. So the way that the workshop idea came through me, right? It was last year. It was like right after the election. I know there was a lot of people going through really dark times, and including myself. And I was like, okay, I have a choice to make in this moment, right? Like I can either like let this take me down, or I can let this take me higher. And so at that point in my life, I was searching for, okay, like I need to keep my energy up, right? Because there was a lot of darkness around, and I was like, okay, how do I keep my energy up? And what I chose to do, or what I started doing for me in that moment, what came to me was start listening to like inspirational teachers. And one of my favorites is Wayne Dyer. And so I chose to start listening to him. And I'm listening to him, and somewhere in the course of one of his audios, I had his audiobooks, right? So somewhere in the course of one of his audios, he's talking about like his first start, right? And he went on this book tour. And I was like, well, I want a book tour, but I don't have a book, which is coming, right? So that's actually completing in the next coming month or so. But in any case, I was like, oh, well, okay, what does that look like for me, right? And then I started to, for those of you guys who aren't familiar with downloads, it's basically like an intuitive hit, right? I started to get this rush of energy of like, here's how to do it, right? So I put out like to the universe, so this was a vision, right? I put out to the vision, I'm like, well, I want a book tour, but like I don't have a book, so what does that look like, right? And then from there, I got downloaded, right? I got a hit of like, we'll start working and calling yoga studios and start teaching through that. And so I ended up making that choice to start to do that, right? And I followed that flow of energy, right? So first of all, it felt really open. Like when I tuned into, okay, like workshops at yoga studios, to me, in my reality, that felt really open. It felt really juicy. It felt really expansive. And that's how we know we're on the right track, right? It's like, oh, like that feels good, right? We're meant to have fun in this world, right? We're meant to have lots of fun. We're meant to be in this, open, expansive, growing reality, right? So when something contracts in your body, if something feels heavy, if something feels like dark, and a lot of the times, like if you're not tuned into energy yet, it's okay, right? Closing your eyes and just feeling into, how does this feel right now? Does this feel light or does this feel heavy? And so for me, that felt light. So I started moving towards that. And when we move towards something, then the universe gives us more information. Yes, you're going in the right direction, or doors are closing, or, you might be going in the right direction, but it might be that that your soul has to work through some things. So something may feel challenging to you, and you might feel scared of it, but that's not necessarily a sign you're going in the wrong direction. It just might be like, okay, this is how my soul came here to grow, right? And it's important to mention too, like if you close your eyes and you have a specific goal in mind, say for instance, and it feels contracting, and you like goals though, but it feels contracting, that might be just that there's some fear there. So that might not be an inclination that you're not going in the right direction, right? It just might be that you're going in the right direction, but you got to work through like, okay, I'm scared I'm going to fail, or I'm scared, I'm going to get rejected. So whatever that looks like. So it's important to kind of tune in. Is this just because this isn't aligned for me, or is this because I'm scared? And so I started moving towards this. And as I started moving towards this, the universe, source, God, however you want to define it, started giving me more information, right? And so I started getting more and more information. So first it was like, do it in Chicago. Okay, so started doing it in Chicago. I did several in Chicago. Then it was like, okay, do it in cities where you know people. So started doing that. And then it was like, okay, do it everywhere. Do it wherever you feel called, right? Wherever I felt inspired. So again, I looked at the energy and I followed, again, that openness, that excitement. Like I was like, I'm really excited to go. For some reason, Boise was one of those places I was like, felt really called towards. So I'm like, really excited to go to Boise. And if you joined us, just say hi. We're talking about goals. Like this is such an awesome topic. I love this topic. And so, so Boise came to mind, Santa Fe came to mind, Phoenix came to mind, and some of those places I knew people, and some of those places I didn't really. So I just started following that flow of energy. I started opening to that, and it just became more and more juicy, more and more fun. It was, oh my God, it was awesome, right? And so it was about following the flow of energy. The other thing I want to mention about goals is that when we set goals, and that contraction that I talked about earlier, many times that contraction is like, it's us, it's the way that we box ourselves in, okay? So the reason, part of how I've been able to create very quickly is because I'm following the flow, right? And so if I set a goal, so say for instance, I say, okay, I'm gonna make this XYZ income goal this year. So for practical purposes, let's say I'm gonna make 6 figures this year. So just to give an example. That actually may be limiting what the universe has in mind for me, right? And so again, it's really, really important. Like think about it. So like I said, if you feel a goal in your body and if it does contract for you, if it does feel like it's boxing you in, it's important to go, okay, well, this feels contracting, and to look at like, okay, well, this might be stopping the flow of energy for you, right? Like you might be limiting. I always like to say, may this or something greater occur. So if you're using the income example, it's like may 6 figures or something greater occur, right? So it's just really, really important to allow for that flow of energy. Part of what I was doing too, as I was saying, if we're going to go back to the workshop example, part of what I was doing was I was waiting, like looking for the inspiration. So again, if I say, so say for instance, I start setting a goal and then it starts to feel heavy, it doesn't feel fun. And I just am literally now feel into, just try again, close your eyes if you have a little bit of a harder time tuning into energy, but feel into like if I'm moving towards something and it's not fun, how that feels, right? It feels like you're pushing it, right? It's like, oh, you're pushing. And so it's really, really important to tune in, right? It's like, oh, okay, like, all right, so I'm moving towards this. It's feeling like I'm forcing it. Oh, but I set this goal. Like, again, that's how we get off track. So follow the flow of energy. If you move towards something and initially it feels good, and then you're like, okay, well, now it doesn't feel so good. It's important to tune in and kind of check in with yourself and get present and take some deep breaths and find out why. Again, is it because of something that you just need to work through as a soul, as a being, like fear? Or is it something that, it's just because it's not aligned, right? It's not the right thing. Because so many times, like, so if we look at something in the physical world, so I'll give an example, like I'm hiring, so for my sales training program, I'm hiring someone to do my launch basically and my sales training. And there's this person that like in the physical world, and her energy is great too, but in the physical world, she appears like to be the most successful out of the people that I interviewed, right? And then there's this other person who's like a fourth or fifth of the price, right? And she's competent, very competent. Her energy's a little bit less open, but she's competent. And so I was just looking at the energy of it, and in the physical, I'd be like, well, this person has she's successful, but she, like, I would be like, oh, well, this person's successful, so this person's going to help me to get the biggest results on my launch, right? But when I looked at the energy of it, the energy actually read where the results were going to be very minimal, right? So I could spend 5 or 6, 7 times more, or I could just go, okay, wait, this actually feels, this is actually going to get me a very similar result for a significantly less investment. And sometimes the investment is worth it, right? So that's what I always look at, right? It's like, okay, I'm okay about making a big investment if it's actually going to get me like the more results, right? If it was going to double, triple my results, totally worth it. And so it's really important. Like, okay, so again, the way that I like to goal set instead of goal setting is to I get an energy, a feeling of something. So I'm like, okay, I want to do workshops. So I get that in my mind and I put that out there, right? And then I wait for different things, inspiration, things that feel open, things that feel good to come to mind. If there's a day, like when I'm tuning in, so on a daily basis, what I'm doing is tuning in. It's like, okay, where do I want to put my energy today, right? Where do I want to put my time? What feels inspiring and juicy to me? Because again, think about it this way. So say, for instance, I wake up and I'm like, I have to do this today. And occasionally that's my day, but that's typically not really. So if I'm doing that, then the whole day I'm working through. So like imagine like this is your like kind of like that brick wall, right? So if I'm pushing and I'm like, I have to, the whole day I'm working against the flow of energy, right? I'm working against the flow, which is heavy, right? Is distracting. It's not fun. And so again, so important. Like, it's like, okay, this is what I need to do. And again, sometimes, just depending again on where you're at in creating your reality, sometimes we do need to kind of push against the brick wall. Or if you're like in the corporate world and you need to do certain things for your job, yeah, sometimes that happens. But the bigger piece of it, and the most important piece is, again, it's like, okay, where's the flow of energy? Like one of the things, that I did when I was in my sales job and that I do in my current job is like, okay, like to really make sales is I'm like, okay, what feels juicy? What feels good? What feels exciting? Like when I was in corporate sales, so I did medical sales. And when I was in corporate sales, what I would do is I would be like, oh, like that feels open. Like that feels really good. And so I knew that was where I would make a lot of money. And if I tried to do sometimes what my ex-manager, my manager at the time, recommended, or what someone else recommended, but it was them not tuning in, right? It was them saying, well, in the physical world, this appears to be what's going to make you successful. Many times, again, I went up against that flow of energy. So I want to share with you before we close today, I want to share with you, and this goes all along with our talk, right? But I want to share with you our my mantra for 2018, because I think it's like so fun and I'm so freaking excited about it. I've been working with it and working through it and all that stuff. And so my mantra is already done. It's already done, right? And it's so important. So this is really cool too, because so many times, and was something I was doing personally myself, but so many times I was in that world, in that reality of it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, right? So what ends up happening as I'm doing that is I'm pushing it further into future reality, right? And the only thing we have right now is present reality, right? And so I was like, okay, I want to switch this, right? I want to stop projecting things that I want immediately, like that I want to bring into my current reality. I want to stop projecting them into my future. So yesterday I was like, okay, like, I'm not really a big one for like mantras or what's your word of the year. Again, I think that those are tend to be a lot of how we impersonate successful human beings. But for this, I really love this because what it does is it refocuses me on like, okay, it's already done. So feel that in your body, like as you feel like this, like, okay, it's already done. All of a sudden, like there's that feeling, like whatever you're desiring. So get a sense of something you're desiring, right? And feel that feeling of like, how would I feel if it was already done? And all of a sudden you go into the space of like calm, right? You go into the space of peace. And so one thing, and so it's really, really important to note that, right? To tune into that, to feel into that, right? And so then from the space of it's already done, what I started doing was seeing and really feeling the reality that I'm wanting to create as it's happening now, And so like whatever that is that you're wanting to create, it's like, oh, like feeling like, oh my God, I'm so excited, like that I got to speak in front of this large group, or whatever it is that you're wanting to create, right? Or if it's around relationship, right? If you're like, oh, like I can feel this person in my space and I can feel how I feel with them, and, and all those pieces, right? And so that to me is like so fun, right? Because if you spend time actually putting your effort towards this, right? If you spend time in that reality, right? Where you're like, okay, I'm creating this reality and I'm feeling that, what ends up happening, hey Jamie, what ends up happening is that you end up in this really like relaxed space, right? You end up like, oh my God, this is really excited. And what you do is you pull that energy towards you, right? So you pull that that reality that's right now in your future, you pull it towards you, because when we believe it and see it, we create it, right? And as part of that too, just to let you know, like I love playing and being able to help people create reality, right? And so what I'm doing coming up next weekend, it's next weekend. So what I'm doing, it's coming up next week, is a being in your reality energy clearing, right? Because look at all the things that stop us from actually being able to create. So it's basically around being a powerful creator. So it's a being a powerful creator energy clearing. And look at all the things that most of the time stop us from being powerful and from creating our reality, right? And so, it can be fear, it can be self-sabotage, there's a gazillion things that stop, right? So what I love to do is to teach people, okay, here's how to become a powerful creator, right? Here's how to really step into this reality. So if you feel called, I invite you to join me. The class is going to be freaking awesome. Like the tools that I'm going to teach are like if you want to speed up what you want to create and you want to bring it in now, like that's what this class is about, right? It's clearing out the things that are holding you back from creating that. And like I said, I'm going to teach you all of these cool tools about how I pull in the reality that right now, quote unquote, is in my future, how I pull that into the present. So again, I invite you to join me. It's called Being a Powerful Creator Energy Clearing. So come out, join me. You can find out information about that on my website at www.deborah.com. And if you go to the workshops tab, that's where you can find it. You'll see something titled Online Live Energy Clearings.